Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
The Natalie Wood mystery after 44 years was resolved at last. Furthermore, it's worse than we considered. In Hollywood, Natalie Wood was among the most stunning actresses, a real celebrity whose the silver screen was illuminated by the presence of. She was younger. Natalia was born Zakharino Nikoleva, July 20, 1938, in California's San Francisco to Russian parents who are immigrants. She was meant to be excellence from a young age. Her parents, particularly her aspirational Aria, the mother, was adamant on seeing their daughter as successful in Hollywood. By when Natalie was only 4 years old, she was already making movie appearances. Her first appearance in the 1943 film Happy, as a young performer, Wood rapidly showed exceptional talent and depth of feeling. Her breakthrough performance occurred when he was 8 years old, in 1947, Miracle on 34th Street, where she captivated audiences as the doubtful little child who comes to believe in Santa Claus. This movie launched her to national focus and signaled the start of a long-term cinematic career. In contrast to many child celebrities who waned from taking center stage, Natalie changed, effectively transitioning into adult roles, an uncommon and remarkable achievement in the entertainment world. Natalie Wood, in the 1950s, developed into a beautiful young lady and a sought-after actress. Her appearance in Rebel Without a Border as Judy Beckos of 1955, James Dean's Opposite, won her a nomination for Best Academy Award Supporting Actress. The position not only demonstrated her capacity to portray characters with a range of emotions, but also confirmed her status as one of the most talented young people in her generation. The movie itself turned into a cultural milestone, as well as her rapport with Diane contributed to making one of the most unforgettable historic film duos. All through Wood's career reached new heights in the 1960s. She starred in several both financially and critically acclaimed popular movies such as Splendor in 1961's Grass, which brought her a second nomination for an Oscar, this time for Top Actress. Her unfiltered emotions depiction of a young lady struggling with mental health, repression, and love struck a strong emotional chord with viewers. Another crucial part in my career, 1961's West Side Story in The Beloved. She played Maria Shakespeare's play in musical form Juliet and Romeo. Despite the fact that her singing dubbed voice, her expressive vervance contributed to the movie being among the most famous musicals ever. The 1960s and the early 1960s and the early 1970s. Natalie Wood kept up her show up in a series of prosperous and Love is one of the highly acclaimed flicks. Inside with The Proper Stranger, 1963, Daisy Clover, 1965, and The Condemnation of This Property, 1966. Despite the opulence and splendor of Wood, frequently looked deeper in Hollywood significance in her work and battled with restrictions that the industry occasionally faced forced upon actresses, particularly those who had been raised in the spotlight. Natalie's grace, attractiveness, and she was one of the most vulnerable performers of her time. She possessed an capacity to communicate a variety of feelings with nuance and authenticity, making her performances incredibly relatable in motion. In addition to her skill, Natalie Wood's intelligence was well known. Professionalism and wit. Her co-workers included some of the most-renowned actors and directors in the company such as Elia Kazan, Robert Redford, Warren Beatty, and gained their respect and adoration. The romantic life of Natalie Wood, in particular her two unions with Robert and actor Wagner, garnered a lot of media attention, interest, and public intrigue, making them among the most talked about in Hollywood about couples in their era. The marriage ceremony was held on December 28, 1957 in a modest yet tasteful ceremony in Scottsdale, Arizona. Wood, only 19 years old, had already accomplished significant recognition as a child star and a Wagner, a 5-star young actress, and years older than she was a sweet and aspirational actor who was also constructing his own employment in the entertainment sector. Their union received a lot of fan publicity, periodicals, and rumors, praised it a Hollywood romance straight out of a fairy tale, but the glitzy picture they projected concealed more serious problems and tensions that started to appear behind the scenes. Several published accounts such as biographical and research projects. Their connections changed drastically by the beginning of the 1960s. In the early months of 1961, Natalie allegedly found that Wagner was having an affair outside of marriage, not with a different woman. This startling discovery in the conservative social atmosphere of the time said to have shattered Wood, making it difficult to a comprehension of their union and emotionally causing her great pain. However, the complete reality is still up for contention and undefined. These accusations became publicly known in Hollywood circles, and subsequently arrived at elimination in public places. June 23, couple declared a trial in 1961. Detachment, indicating the disintegration of what had appeared to be an ideal. They soon parted ways, followed by court cases, and the finalization of the divorce occurred on April 27, 1962. Their marriage's demise signified a distressing and disheartening phase in, although Wood's personal life kept the peace in public and carried on with her career with professionalism after she and Wagner got divorced. Natalie Wood set out on a sequence of romantic connections with a number of prominent men, still continuing to capture the public's interest as well as the media. Some of her prominent suitors. Warren Beatty was a dynamic and emerging performer who was then swiftly gaining fame. Their partnership was passionate and strong, but ultimately brief. Additionally, she was romantically connected to a British actor, Michael Caine, with his dapper manner, and he became one of the most well-known of decades eligible bachelors. In addition to David Nann Jr., the child of famous actor David Nann, revealed her upbringing in Hollywood and socials. Every one of these connections represent Wood's ongoing efforts toward deep friendship. Amidst the celebrity glitz and turbulence life in 1965, Wood went through another emotional turmoil when she got engaged to Ladislav Blatic, a rich shoe manufacturer from Venezuela. Mo Factor ended abruptly. Their relationship had appeared to be promising and alluded to a potential life apart from the demands of the entertainment industry. But eventually the engagement ended. Off, enhancing the design of fun-mit, intimate relationships in her life and fostering an expanding sense of emotional longing and restlessness. Despite the obstacles, Natalie managed to find love once more in the late 1960s, when she started dating Richard, a British film producer Gregson. Their bond grew in the span of about 3 years, distinguished by a more stable, calmer friendship compared to her prior romances. On May 30, 1969. For a while, their marriage would appear to have discovered a more household existence that is grounded. Their joy expanded after their daughter was born. In September, Natasha Gregson Wagner, 29th, 1970. Later on, Natasha would follow in her mother's career as a performer, preserving Wood's creative heritage. But the marriage started to deteriorate shortly. After Natasha was born, Wood filed on August 4, 1971, for divorce. Then in April, the divorce was finalized. 12, 1972. The breakup occurred as Anna was disappointed, but Wood stayed committed to her and to co-parenting daughter's health. Throughout the months after her second divorce, Wood suddenly found herself attracted back to the man she had a relationship with. Robert Wagner have a lengthy romantic past together. In late January 1972, they renewed their connection, a decision that many people were astonished by but felt. Friends say that both are unavoidable and suitable for Wood's emotional state. The reunification of the pair resulted in either second wedding took place on July 16, 1972. The ceremony this time was more a private and personal event that took place on board Ramblin' Rose, a yacht anchored off the Malibu's picturesque Paradise Cove coastline. Their increased dedication resulted in a new story of healing and optimism. September 9, 1974, Courtney, their daughter, was welcomed at Wagner, strengthening the bond between family members they had been looking for a long time. But even during this ostensibly settled stage of Wood's life, allegations subsequently surfaced that her private life might continue to be more intricate than it made a public appearance. Decades in 2015 following her passing, a contentious former FBI agent made a revelation. Donald G. Wilson asserted that he had had a covert 4-year romance with Wood, 1973 to 1977, starting allegedly when she was expecting Courtney. Wilson's claims had previously been made through side sources. However, in 2015, he personally verified and clarified additional information in a 2016 documentary for the Rios Network. As stated by Wilson, they also had an emotional bond, as well as physical, and they kept prudence because of her marriage in the public eye. While Wagner and Wood's relatives have not verified these assertions, and many doubt their sincerity, then additional dimension of mystery was provided by the story. To Wood's nuanced emotional universe. Over her lifetime, Natalie Wood that demonstrated the distinctive demands of growing up in the spotlight, negotiating celebrity, and looking for lasting affection in a society where perception and reality frequently contradicted itself. Her romantic voyage filled with reunion, grief, and love and rumors continued to be a moving and profoundly the human side of her long-lasting Hollywood heart. For more than 40 years, Natalie, a renowned actress, passed away tragically. Tatwit is still among Hollywood's most mysterious and eerie unresolved secrets, veiled in distrust, contradictory accounts, and excruciating conjecture. In late 1981, when it was announced that Trable and West Side Story star had drowned close to without a cause after spending the night on her Catalina Island, the world was left behind in the boat. The splendor. Stunned. Wood, who was only 43 was at the peak of her career at the time, and individual notoriety as well as the abrupt and mysterious circumstances surrounding her demise, taking place during what was supposed to be Alice's early weekend boat excursion with her husband, Robert Wagner, an actor, and Christopher Walken, an actor and friend, set off a media frenzy avalanche and questions that remain unaddressed. Right from the start initially, there were perplexing discrepancies in the official narrative. Authorities promptly declared her death to be an unintentional drowning, but numerous such asfans, family and close friends, never agreed with that explanation. The strange information about the awful nitrates a lot of red. There was apparently a heated argument breaking out on the yacht. Natalia's cynical apprehension for black water, and the fact that she was heavily bruised. Some speculating that she might have experienced violence or hardship in the past. Into the ocean. Adding to the odd behavior was confusing and contradictory claims made by those who were with her that evening, Wagner in particular, who last saw her, according to records, living for many years. Conjecture regarding foul play was suspected, although the case was still pending. Formally closed until a new witness is found. Forensic evidence and accounts came to light in the decade of the 2000s, infusing new into the protracted unsolved case. In 2011, the County Sheriff's Office of Los Angeles, the department, reopened the inquiry. Following the captain of the yacht, Dennis DeVerne, modified his tale in public. He asserted that he had lied to keep Wagner safe, and now demanded that a dispute between the pair had intensified aggressively, and that Wagner postponed when Wood vanished. He called for assistance. This terrifying discovery, along with demands from the inquiry, Natalie's family and journalists pushed officials to re-examine the initial autopsy and further interview. The outcomes were disastrous. The coroner's office made an amendment in 2012, Wood's certificate of death, altering their assign of accidental drowning, death-toll drowning, and other unknown limits, a step that validated suspicions that the initial findings may have failed to notice or disregard indications of possible misconduct. The Febicide stakes were enhanced by involvement. Wildly, researchers discovered decades-old assertions, inconsistencies in interviews, with faint indications of blockage or absence. One of the most unsettling notes, known as disclosures, seemed to a possible cover-up in tandem with behavioral evaluations and psychological assessments that provided a disturbing depiction of the incidents that took place aboard the yacht. Wagner, who had consistently claimed innocence, was designated as an official person of interest in 2018, saw a change that rekindled all in public scrutiny. Putting on top of this is all part of the game theory layer, idea that is usually only used in economics or tactic, but chillingly relevant in this place. Consider a small area, high conflicts, reputations at stake, and 3 influential figures, each with anything to forfeit. That fateful evening in 1981 was when Natalie Wood, actor, and Robert Wagner Walken, Christopher Wood's brainstorm co-star, were by themselves on the yacht with the captain of the ship. Theory of game simply is that in circumstances involving stakes and few options, people frequently behave without considering the truth, but in methods that safeguard their own results. Some interpretations state that the interactions that could occur on board Splendor turned into a terrible strategic game. Omission, deception, and transferring the responsibility, where the intention was not to discover the truth, but in order to endure theft. The background of Robert Wagner with Wood adds more levels of intricacy. Their devoted but tumultuous union having witnessed splits and reunions, frequently overshadowed by hostility and jealousy. Natalie's death night, according to implied that Wagner had Pedroing irritated over Wood's proximity with Walken, which could lead to a better dispute. Remarks from the Dennis DeVerne, the boat's captain, later showed that Wagner had lost his temper and that a heated dispute could have happened just before Natalia disappeared. According to Darren, he was directed to maintain silence and theft, a stillness he acknowledged regret for many years. Meanwhile, Christopher Walken has mostly stayed silent over what actually occurred, igniting for, despite never being charged with misconduct. His distant disengagement from the public discussion left many questioning if he was also playing a part of a far more extensive and more strategic game where loyalty, fear, and the need to protect oneself dictated theme moves instead of conscience or wisdom. Ultimately, the reality that surfaced was not only about a terrible mishap, but regarding the potential for darkness to reside in the net, the glitz and celebrity that demonstrated how authority, fear, and conflicting motivations may cause distortion. Truth, and how, even after several decades, the time cannot bury the truth, rather it must be those who stand to lose the most. Additionally, as journalists and investigators have Araveto concur, resolving Natalie Wood's closure did not come from mystery. It brought anything more unsettling. You understanding that a delay, injustice could be denied justice as well. Additionally, that the story's worst aspect might not be the death per se, but the complex network of then there was stillness 44 years later. The overall perception of Natalie Wood, a brilliant celebrity, lost give place to a terrible accident, and a more disturbing likelihood that she might not have happened by accident, but a violent or avoidable act that had been masked by fame, influence, as well as quiet. Finally, the long overdue investigation of the globe face an unsightly truth underneath the glitzy exterior of Hollywood. Even its most beloved darkness did not spare icons, injustice, or secrets. Additionally, in Natalie, the truth in Wood's case, even if it is delayed, was more upsetting and tragic, more than anyone had anticipated.